The night I decided to destroy my own life was the same night I found out who she really was. I still remember the look on her face when I told her I had lost everything. Not just money, everything. My car, my apartment, my so-called successful life. I told her I was broke, drowning in debt, and had nowhere left to go. I made my voice shake just enough to sound real. The truth? I owned 3 companies, had more money than I could spend in a lifetime, and every word coming out of my mouth was a lie carefully designed to test one thing: her loyalty. She didn't know I had spent months planning this. Watching her. Studying the way she reacted to small things. Noticing how she treated waiters, how she talked about rich people, how her tone subtly changed whenever money entered the conversation. I had been burned before badly. Someone once loved my lifestyle more than they ever loved me. I wasn't going to let that happen again. So I became someone else. I traded my tailored suits for cheap, worn-out clothes. I stopped using my real car and borrowed an old, unreliable one from a friend. I moved out of my luxury apartment and into a tiny, cramped place that smelled like damp walls and regret. Even my phone changed: no more latest model, just a cracked screen and slow performance. I erased every visible sign of wealth from my life. And then, I told her the story. I messed up, I said quietly, avoiding eye contact. A bad investment, everything's gone. For a moment, she just stared at me. That silence felt longer than any answer she could have given. I expected shock. Maybe concern. Maybe even anger. But what I didn't expect was the slight pause before she reached for my hand. A pause so small most people wouldn't notice, but I did. "Hey," she said softly, squeezing my hand, "we'll figure it out." "We." That word hit me harder than anything else. But I wasn't convinced. Not yet. Because loyalty doesn't show itself in one moment. It reveals itself slowly, under pressure. And I was about to apply more pressure than she could ever imagine. The next morning, everything started to change, at least on the surface. She texted me earlier than usual. Not just a casual good morning, but a long message asking if I had eaten, if I slept okay, if I needed anything. It felt different. Warmer. More attentive. For a second, I almost believed I had been wrong about her. But I had trained myself not to trust first impressions. I replied simply, keeping my tone low, "Tired." I told her I was looking for work, anything at that point. I even mentioned I might have to sell the last few things I owned just to survive the next month. Again, every word was part of the act, but her reaction would be real. She called me immediately. "You don't have to do this alone," she said. Her voice carried urgency now. "I can help. I have some savings." I cut her off gently. "No, I don't want your money." There was a pause on the line. Not an annoyed pause. Not frustrated. Something else. Like she was thinking carefully. "Then let me be there," she said quietly. "That's all I'm asking." That line stayed with me longer than I expected. Still, words are easy. Anyone can say the right thing when emotions are fresh. The real test comes when inconvenience replaces sympathy. So I pushed further. Over the next few days, I started canceling plans. I stopped taking her to nice places. No more dinners, no more small surprises, no more comfort. Instead, I suggested we meet in cheap cafes, or just walk around aimlessly because I couldn't afford anything. The shift was drastic. I watched her closely every single time. At first, she smiled through it. She didn't complain. She didn't question why everything had changed so suddenly. She just adjusted. But then, I noticed something. Not in what she said, but in what she didn't say. She stopped talking about the future as much. Those little comments she used to make about traveling together, about building something long-term, they started fading away. Slowly. Quietly. Like someone turning down the volume instead of switching it off. That bothered me. More than I expected. Because now, it wasn't just a test anymore. It felt like I was watching something real, slowly slipping. One evening, I decided to push things to a point where there would be no pretending anymore. I asked her to meet me at my new place. She had never been there before. When she arrived, I could see the reaction in her eyes the moment she stepped inside. The peeling paint. The dim lighting. The uncomfortable silence of a place that didn't feel like home. She tried to hide it. But again I notice everything. "This is where you're staying?" she asked carefully. "Yeah," I said, shrugging. "For now." She nodded slowly and walked further in, taking it all in. I stayed quiet, letting the moment stretch. Then I dropped the real weight. "I might have to leave the city," I said. "There's nothing left for me here." This time, she didn't answer immediately. And that silence. It was louder than anything she had said so far. She finally sat down, but not close to me. That distance, small, almost unnoticeable, felt bigger than the room itself. "Leave the city," she repeated, her voice softer now, like she was trying to process something she didn't want to accept. "For how long?" "I don't know," I said, keeping my eyes on the floor. "Maybe permanently. I can't survive here anymore." The words hung between us. I expected her to move closer. To say something emotional. To fight for us. But she didn't. Instead, she took a slow breath and looked around the room again, like she was trying to imagine her place inside this new version of my life, and couldn't find it. "What about us?" she finally asked. That question should have given me hope. But something about the way she said us felt different now. Less certain. Less real. "I don't even know what I'm doing with my own life," I replied. "It wouldn't be fair to drag you into this mess." Another silence. This one colder. She nodded, slowly, like she was agreeing with something she didn't want to agree with. Maybe you're right," she said. That hit harder than anything else so far. Not because she agreed, but because she didn't fight it. Days passed after that conversation, and everything between us started fading. Not dramatically. Not with arguments or accusations. Just distance. Messages became shorter. Calls became rare. The warmth she once had was being replaced by something neutral. Careful. And then came the moment I had been waiting for, and at the same time, the moment I didn't want to face. I called her one last time. "I found a job," I told her. "But it's far. Really far. I'll have to leave this week." There was a pause on the line. A long one. "That's good," she said finally. "I'm happy for you." Happy. That word felt empty coming from her. "I guess this is it then," I said quietly. Another silence. And then, she said it. "Yeah. I think it is." No tears. No wait. No "we'll figure it out." Just acceptance. We ended the call like strangers who once knew each other. And for the first time since I started this entire test, I felt something I didn't plan for. Regret. Not because she failed. But because I wasn't sure anymore, if I had just tested her. Or destroyed something that might have been real in a completely different way. The day I was supposed to leave the city came faster than I expected. I packed a single bag and left the apartment, just like I had told her I would. No messages from her that morning. No "good luck." No "I'll miss you." Nothing. It was quiet. Too quiet. I sat in my car for a long time, staring at my phone, wondering if I should end the test right there. Call her. Tell her everything. Laugh it off like some stupid experiment that went too far. But something stopped me. Because deep down, I needed to know one last thing. Would she come back, on her own? So I waited. Hours passed. Then a full day. Nothing. That was my answer. Or at least, that's what I told myself. That night, I went back to my real life. The one I had hidden so carefully. The penthouse. The cars. The reality where I didn't have to pretend anymore. Everything was exactly where I left it. But it didn't feel the same. A few days later, I made a decision. Not out of curiosity this time but closure. I asked her to meet me. She almost didn't come. Her reply was short, hesitant, like she wasn't sure if reopening that door was a good idea. But eventually, she agreed. When she arrived, I didn't meet her at a cafe. I gave her an address. My real address. When she stepped into the building, I could already imagine the confusion on her face. This wasn't the world she thought I belonged to anymore. And when she finally reached the door, I opened it. For a moment, she just stood there, looking at me. Then past me. Taking in everything. The space. The view. The life I had hidden. "What is this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't answer immediately. I just stepped aside and let her walk in. "This," I said finally, "is the truth." She turned to me, her eyes searching for something real in a situation that suddenly didn't make sense. "I don't understand," she said. "I'm not broke," I told her. "I never was." Silence. The kind that feels heavy. The kind that changes everything. "I wanted to see if you loved me, or my money." The moment the words left my mouth, I knew. There was no going back. She stared at me like I had just become a stranger. Not shocked in the way I expected. Not emotional. Just, still. "You lied to me," she said quietly. There was no anger in her voice yet. That made it worse. "I needed to know," I replied. "I've been used before. I couldn't risk." "So you decided to test me," she cut in. Now it was there. The shift. The hurt finally breaking through. I didn't answer. Because there wasn't a good answer. She let out a small laugh, but there was no humor in it. "Do you have any idea what you put me through?" "I was watching how you reacted," I said, trying to explain what, even to me now, sounded weak. "I needed to see the real you." "The real me," she repeated. "You never gave me a real situation." That hit harder than anything else she'd said. "I stood by you when you said you lost everything," she continued, her voice rising now. "I offered help. I stayed. I adjusted. I tried to be there even when you pushed me away." I opened my mouth to respond but she didn't let me. "But you didn't just test my loyalty," she said, her eyes locked onto mine. "You removed every reason for me to feel safe with you." The room felt smaller. "You stopped being honest. You stopped being stable. You started talking about leaving, giving up, disappearing, and you expected me to just blindly follow that." I had no response. Because she was right. "I didn't leave because you were poor," she said, her voice steady now. "I stepped back because you became someone I couldn't recognize anymore." That silence again. But this time, it wasn't empty. It was final. "You didn't test my love," she added softly. "You tested how much confusion and uncertainty I could handle, before I had to protect myself." I felt something sink inside me. Slow. Heavy. "And you failed that test," she said. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just, truthfully. She turned toward the door. For a second, I thought about stopping her. Saying something. anything. But what could I say? That it was all a misunderstanding? That I didn't mean to hurt her? That I was just afraid? None of it would undo what I had done. So I stood there, and let her walk away. And for the first time since all of this started, I realized the truth wasn't about her loyalty. It was about mine. The door closed behind her with a soft sound, but it echoed louder than anything I had ever heard. I didn't move. For a long time, I just stood there, staring at the empty space she had left behind, replaying every moment in my head. Every word. Every silence. Every choice I made thinking I was in control. I thought I was testing her. But the truth was, I was the one being revealed. Days passed, but nothing felt the same anymore. The penthouse felt colder. The silence felt heavier. The success I once took pride in now felt empty. Because for the first time, I understood something I had ignored my entire life. Trust isn't built by testing people. It's built by trusting them. And I had done the exact opposite. I started remembering the small things. The way she reached for my hand without hesitation. The way she offered help when she thought I had nothing. The way she stayed, until I became someone she couldn't feel safe with. She didn't fail my test. She reacted to the reality I created. And I created a version of myself that no one would choose. Weeks later, I saw her again. Not planned. Not expected. She was at a small cafe across the street, sitting by the window, looking peaceful. Different. Like someone who had let go of something heavy. For a moment, I thought about walking in. Saying something. Trying to fix what I had broken. But I didn't. Because some things aren't meant to be fixed after they're broken. Some lessons only come with loss. I turned away and kept walking. Not because I didn't care. But because I finally understood what I had done. I didn't lose her when I pretended to be poor. I lost her the moment I chose deception over honesty. And that's something no amount of money could ever buy back.